Hello and welcome to Beginning to Begin. My name is Jesse and I'll be the host for today's podcast. Let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm so glad you're here. Let's talk about some mental health stuff today. But first off, I want to talk a little bit about Americanos. So I'm not so sure if I have any coffee fans out there, but I have been living and loving me some Americanos recently. I have this Ninja coffee maker. It's super fancy. I'm definitely addicted to coffee. I'll admit that for sure. And I've been making, doing an espresso shot and then pouring in some hot water. And I have been loving that. I've been doing that for the past couple of weeks and it has been just very good. And so needless to say, here I am this morning recording this podcast and I'm drinking myself a delicious Americano. If I have any coffee fans out there, awesome. If I have tea fans out there, I'm also a tea drinker. I was converted through my stint with anxiety, actually. Tea helped me make some better decisions when it comes to caffeine intake and other things. So tea fans out there, total respect for what you're doing, and it's awesome. And if you don't drink either tea or coffee, then I'm not sure really how you get through your life. You must exercise well, or you're just built different than me. But you're definitely missing out on this coffee train, not going to lie to you. So anyways, with that preface, I hope all of you are doing well and hope you guys are able to get some good coffee and tea in your life today, or whatever it is that you enjoy. Okay, let's talk a little bit today about setting some good mental health boundaries. We have so much going on in our life right now, between juggling family, juggling careers, juggling outside activities, juggling projects that we're working on the weekends, making sure it all gets done and making sure that we do it well. It's a very difficult and trying task. At least it is for me. If you're not in that boat, then let me know what you do, and I would love to talk about that with you. But it's a lot. And this week, actually, I came home a couple nights ago, and, it was a long day at work. The past couple days, I've been putting in morning hours. I've been putting in evening hours. I've been doing that for the last couple weeks, working. This last weekend was good, but it wasn't like super restful necessarily. Didn't get a lot of sleep. Had a lot of fun, but didn't get a lot of sleep. And came into this week, and I just got to Tuesday night, and I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and my wife looked over at me, and we were running some errands for her business, and she's like, "It looks like you're not doing well at all." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm actually feeling an extreme amount of anxiety." And she's like, "What's going on with that?" And I'm like, "Honestly, I don't know." And so I started processing through that evening, looking back, and kind of realize some things. But first off, I want to talk about anxiety, right? So anxiety is this topic. We've all probably heard the word. We're all familiar with the word, and we all have probably different meanings of the word. John Delony, in his book, Redefining Anxiety, talks a little bit about this. And to preface, I haven't read the book in full. I should. I really want to. But he talks about in his book that anxiety is like a fire alarm, right? It's our body's way of going whoop whoop, alert alert, something's going on and I need you to fix it for us, right? I need you to take control and to fix it. And a lot of times, and he talks about this book, a lot of times we're taping pillows over it. We're trying to silence the anxiety rather than listen to the alarm and actually take its warnings. And if we go on for months and years ignoring these alarms, then we can end up, really hurting ourselves in the long run. And I thankfully have only been witness to a very small, mild version of that. And it was completely miserable. And I never, ever want to get back there again in my life. So that's kind of how I'm defining anxiety. I know there's a lot of other definitions, and there is real mental health stuff surrounding that. And I'm not a medical doctor, and this is not medical advice. So just to put that out there. But this is the frame and the lens in which I'm looking at anxiety, recently for me. And so I realized there is something going on. My body is letting me know and is alerting me of something. So I started processing through and looking back at that week, the previous few weeks, and, realizing, okay, I'm working 15, 16 hours, but I've only been getting 5 or 6 hours of sleep the last couple of days, right? I've only been eating 2 out of my 3 meals. I haven't been eating all of my meals. And I know that I need the calories, right? Every person's different, but I know my body definitely needs the calories. And I've been exercising. So like, yes, I need to be eating good for me calories, right? And so getting only a few hours of sleep. I know that I thrive on 7. Like I need 7 to survive. And yet I'm only giving myself 5 or 6. I'm eating, 2 of my 3 meals, and I've been skipping devotions in my life. And for me, I need devotions. I know that I do. And so out of like my core 4 things that I need in my life, I'm only doing one of them, which was to exercise, which probably went against me in the whole eating thing. And so I realized at that moment, like I have been treating myself very poorly and working very hard. So of course my body is sounding the alarm. Of course it's doing that. And so this really got me thinking about we need to have good safety measures. We need to have tripwires that kind of let us know like, hey, have you exercised this week? If you haven't, that's a sign that you're pushing yourself too hard and you're not taking care of yourself. We need to define what those are. And for me, I've kind of mentioned it, but like, am I getting consistently on average 7 hours of sleep a night? Like, is that happening? If that's not happening, okay, that's kind of an alert to me that, I'm out of balance. And if I continue down this road too far, it could be dangerous, right? I could end up with something that's even much harder as it goes on. So we need to establish clear boundaries and know what they are so that we can be comfortable with holding ourselves accountable when we're crossing these boundaries. And I would really encourage you, if you're setting up these boundaries and you haven't set them up necessarily before, to focus on a few different factors, right? We're humans, so I would focus on spiritual health. I would focus on physical health. I would focus on emotional health. And in that emotional health, I would group in family, right? We need our family surrounding us. We need our friends there, whatever that looks like in your life. If you have your spouse, you need to have a good relationship with them. And so you need to be making sure you're getting that time in. And so these core, and then physical health. Hopefully I didn't just say that again, but you need all of those things, right? You need that spiritual health. You need that emotional health. You need that physical health. You need to be making sure that you're getting all of those core needs in those core spheres met. Otherwise, you're really going to be struggling to be able to meet all the demands that you have in your life and be able to get all of the projects that you're wanting done. And it's going to totally backfire on you 100%. And I've shared a couple times, but I went through this stint where I kept pushing myself. I kept trying and listening. The anxiety alarms were going off and I was covering them up. I was, drinking coffee through them. I was like, oh, I'm going to go and keep pushing myself harder. And this is the only way that Elon Musk does it, right? This is the only way that these big CEOs and top dogs do it, or whatever, right? Whatever I was telling myself. And I woke up one day and I had to pay the price for that. And it was a pretty heavy price to pay. And I'm still digging myself out of that debt, even a year or 2 later at this point. So definitely listen to your body and definitely do that. So obviously some clear action steps that I took once I kind of realized this. I went to bed early that night. I got like 9+ hours of sleep. It was great. I woke up the next day and I felt a little something. So I had a good breakfast, like a good for me breakfast, food that I know my body does well with, food that I know is good for me. And then I had a good lunch, and then I had a good dinner. And then, I made sure I had work to do that night. I honestly did. I had things that needed to get done, and I stepped into work for like 5 minutes or something minute like that. But then I sat on the couch with my wife, who I hadn't seen enough of in the last couple of weeks, and I spent the time with her, and it was really rewarding. And even just a couple days, I woke up this morning feeling like, wow, I feel so much better from all of these different, checks. And it was partly due to the fact that course correction happened early because I had these boundaries, because I had these safety nets and these alerts, kind of letting me know, because I had processed through this stuff before. And I think going forward, I'm going to even set up even more clear safety nets and boundaries to make sure I'm holding myself accountable to these good habits. So I don't even need to course correct, and I don't even need to adjust myself, if that makes sense. The book that I read or listened to on Audible was Reset by David Murray. This was years ago when I was going through everything and it was really difficult, and he gives some amazing advice for how to reset your life. He has 2 different books. So he has one for the male audience and one for the female audience, because he believes that how our brains need to reset is a little bit different. So just be kind of aware of that. And the women audience is written with him and his wife co-authored. So I heard it's really good. But I went through the original Reset, and he walks you through these different checkpoints. And he kind of says like, okay, checkpoint 1, and he goes kind of what I was talking about through saying like, where's your physical health? Where's your mental health? And he walks you through these different practical steps. And so it was only like a 4.5 or 5 hour listen. It took me a couple weeks to go through it and digest it and do it well, to process it well, to go through each chapter, to kind of do my homework and to think about it. And that book is one of the pinnacle things that helped me kind of realize, evaluate where I was at, and be able to take real actionable steps. And he talked about all kinds of awesome metaphors in there, and he talked about all kinds of awesome real life stories that happened to him. He was admitted to the hospital, and because of he was pushing himself, and then I think he had like a stroke or a blood clot or something like that. And then like a year later, he ended up there again, even after he tried to go through this reset process himself. And so really good book, and he's just a really awesome author. And so I'd check him out for 100% sure. If I was in your shoes and you were feeling like you needed this to reset your habits in your life. Again, I am not a doctor, and this is not medical advice in any way, shape, or form. Please don't feel like that's what I'm trying to push on you. I just know that mental health is such a big thing, and it's something that we should prioritize, but we seem to do a very poor job at it, or at least in my life, I do a very poor job at it. So when it comes to your life, and when it comes to scaling yourself and your projects and your goals, just make sure you're setting those boundaries, those safety nets, and those guidelines that you need to make sure you're meeting. And it's going to look different for everyone. I know I say that a lot, but it really does, depending on your life and your lifestyle and what you need to make sure that you're setting up a good safety net. Some people might need 10 plus hours of sleep. Other people might be like, I'm great with 5. I don't know what you're talking about, Jesse. I've never gotten 6 hours of sleep in my life. You set up those safety nets. And if you need a good resource, Reset by David Murray. You guys all got this. I'm excited for you. I'm hoping all of you are doing well and you're able to set up good, healthy boundaries, and you're able to have a good balance in life of getting things done and enjoying this life that was given to us that is way too short. So with that, this has been awesome. I am your host of Beginning to Begin, Jesse. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I hope that you guys are growing yourself and your projects and your careers and just being better at what you love. Peace. Thank you so much for tuning into the episode. It's been awesome to connect with you guys and hear from you. Always feel free to reach out, and I'll happily get on a Zoom room, and I would love to talk about books that you're reading. I'd love to talk about projects that you're doing. I'd love to talk about any of these things. I'm in it for building good relationships and partnerships in this life, and so feel free to reach out, and we can set up a Zoom call and just kind of see what it is that is going on in your world and maybe my world, and maybe drink some Americanos and talk about how much we love coffee. So it should be good. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys.